I never thought I'd be sitting here telling this story like it's some kind of movie plot. But man, looking back, it feels exactly like that, full of twists, heartaches, and those moments where you just want to throw your hands up and say, why me? It all started a couple years ago when I moved to this quiet little suburb in Evergreen Hills, Oregon, chasing what I thought was the American dream. A cozy house with a big yard, space for my kids to run around, and maybe even start that side business I'd been dreaming about. But right from day one, it felt like the universe or God, or whatever you want to call it, had hit pause on my life and thrown me into this wild test I wasn't ready for. See, the neighborhood had this HOA run by this guy named Harlan Whitaker, the self-appointed king of the block, who'd been there forever, inherited his dad's old property empire or something, and he hated newcomers like me with a passion that didn't make sense at first. I was just Mike Reynolds, a regular guy from the city, worked in tech sales, saved up to buy this fixer-upper because I wanted roots for my family after my divorce left me starting over. But Harlan? He saw me as a threat. Turns out, my lot backed right up against his. And there was this old easement dispute from way back, some forgotten paperwork about shared access to a creek that he claimed gave him rights to part of my yard. It wasn't about the land, really. It was personnel. I'd lost a big real estate deal recently, and here I was, the outsider, fixing up my place, making it look better than his crumbling mansion next door, and folks started whispering how I was shaking things up. Jealousy, pure and simple, mixed with that small-town power trip where he controlled the HOA like his personal fiefdom. The trouble kicked off innocent enough. One morning, I get this nasty letter slapped on my door, citing some bogus violation about my fence being 2 inches too high, demanding I tear it down or face fines that'd bankrupt me. I laughed it off at first, thinking, come on, this is ridiculous. But when I went to the HOA meeting to sort it out, there was Harlan at the head of the table, smirking like he owned my soul. Mr. Reynolds, he says, all oily and condescending, leaning forward with that fake smile. Rules are rules. Your kind thinks you can waltz in here and ignore him, but this community's got standards. I fired back, calm as I could. Harlan, I've got the permits right here. This ain't about rules. It's about you not liking my face or maybe how my yard's looking greener than yours. The room went dead quiet. A few neighbors shifting uncomfortably. There was Mrs. Ellis, the sweet old lady down the street who'd whispered to me earlier that Harlan had bullied her into selling part of her garden years ago, and young Tom, the mechanic, who nodded like he knew the score but stayed silent out of fear. That night, I couldn't sleep, pacing my kitchen, feeling this crushing weight, like every tear I held back was counting towards something bigger, wondering if I'd made a huge mistake uprooting my life. It escalated quick. Harlan started spreading rumors, saying I was some shady developer flipping houses to ruin the neighborhood's character, even though I was just planting veggies and building a swing set for my daughter, Lily. Fines piled up, anonymous complaints about my dog barking. We didn't even have a dog back then, and one evening he shows up at my doorstep uninvited, pounding like he's the sheriff. You think you're special, Mike? Chosen to come here and play hero? He sneers, his face red, jabbing a finger at me. This land's been Whitaker territory for generations. Nothing but a glitch in the system, and I'll make sure you're gone before you know it. I stood there, heart pounding, but something snapped inside. I didn't yell back, just stared him down and said, Harlan, if this is a test, I'm passing it. Your game's end here. He laughed, all bitter and mocking. We'll see about that, boy, and stormed off. But that moment, it lit a fire in me, not to destroy, but to prove I wasn't breaking. Those months were hell. Sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, confusion swirling like a storm. Every bill a reminder I was barely hanging on. And yeah, I shed tears alone in the dark, questioning everything. Why me? Why this endless valley of crap? But deep down, I felt this pull, like it wasn't random, like I was being refined, molded through the pressure, not crushed by it. My ex-wife, Sarah, she'd call sometimes, worried, saying, Mike, just sell and move on. But I couldn't. To Lily loved that yard, and damn it, it felt like giving in to a bully who'd manipulated the whole community out of fear. I started digging, literally and figuratively, found old county records showing the easement was mine, not his, from a survey back in the 80s that Harlan's dad had fudged to grab more land. And there were others hurt by him. Mrs. Ellis confided over coffee one day, her voice trembling. He threatened to sue me if I didn't sign over that patch said it'd ruin my grandkids' inheritance. Tom, the mechanic, admitted in his garage, tools clanging as he wiped grease from his hands. Man, he's got dirt on half the board. That's why no one speaks up. It built this quiet alliance, me reaching out, listening to their stories, realizing my fight wasn't just mine, it was for all of us who'd been pushed around by one man's greed. The turning point came unexpected, like a plot twist I never saw coming. I was at the library, poring over dusty files, when I stumbled on emails leaked from a disgruntled HOA member, proving Harlan had been embezzling funds to pay off his own debts, using the association like his piggy bank. It hit me like a thunderbolt. This wasn't just about my yard. It was corruption, tied to his failing business, and my arrival had spotlighted it all because I wouldn't back down. I gathered the evidence, called a town hall meeting. Yeah, I know, bold move for a newbie, and there, in that stuffy community center, with Harlan glaring from the front row, I laid it out. Folks, I said, voice steady but my knees shaking under the table. This ain't about fences or easements. It's about one man twisting rules for his gain, hurting good people like Mrs. Ellis here, who lost her garden, or Tom, who's paid extra fees for nothing. Harlan jumped up, face twisted in rage. Lies. You're the outsider stirring trouble. I'll sue you into the ground. But the room erupted. Mrs. Ellis stood, pointing at him. No more, Harlan. We've had enough of your threats. Tom chimed in. Yeah, show us the books, or step down. It was chaos, electric, like a scene from a courtroom drama. Accusations flying, Harlan sputtering denials. But the tide turned. Neighbors I'd barely known started clapping, sharing their own gripes.